Hello and welcome to this multimedia series on the environment on CNC3. I'm Ira Mathur. This Sunday we continue our interviews with Alan de Beaumele from Waste Disposals Limited and Alban Scott, Executive Manager at Solid Waste Management Company Limited. Last week our multimedia crew and cameraman Joel Alec visited the Beetham landfill, and we discovered then that all our major landfills are overflowing, not fenced, not lined, and basically don't meet international safety standards. Environmentalists say that toxins may be running into our water table and into the Gulf of Paria and then onto the produce, the food that we eat. We've also learned that we only recycle between 5 to 10% of our waste, as opposed to smaller islands like Barbados, which recycle over 50%. We dump valuable recyclable material, some 50 million plastic bottles and 10 million glass bottles every month. We may not think much of our scavengers, but we need to thank them in a way. In the absence of our recycling laws, over 500 scavengers make a living off our landfills by recycling. There are about 200 of them in the Beetham alone. Today we bring you interviews from Labas. Here's what one of them has to say. The dump provides you enough money to live, for food, rent, everything?
It doesn't really thing and to that standard, it doesn't really, but it does help out a great situation now. At the end of the day, there's really full of hole now, but it's not really enough to say, we can live off of that. But it's just for who be working every day, knowing well I'd buy thing. If you put on that to my land, but not now, say that's at a smaller as it is, just save smaller as it is at the end of the day, and something will be better.
How many of you all working in the dump?
Real people.
How many? About 100, 200?
More than that. More than that, real people standing there. People that come from all over, they come here to us to make a lot. And to go there to look forward, they come here. They make 50, 60, they make 100 for the day, they're good with that, they're comfortable.
So you look for metals, what do other people look for?
I want to tell you, everything that I was saying here, porcelain, butters, metal, iron, plastic, cardboard, everything that I was saying.
And they take that, and where do they take that material?
No, well, they have the higher heads who buy it like the iron, the metal, the copper, the brass, the aluminum, stainless, all them metal people. We got a different price now, but like we bought our price and we got offer a different price, but everybody will get the same price now. But that bar my type person, that he people now buy. This bar my type person, we go deal them differently now buy. So that's how that's be going along the line now buy.
Let me ask you something. If you pick up a bottle here, right?
Yeah.
And you sell it to somebody, could that bottle end up with some vendor selling, say, chana, or somebody selling juice by the highway?
Well, according to the kind of bottles you will pick up, it's a bottle so that people who will buy the bottles, they will wash it out, scald it out, and then at the end of the day, they put the bottles in the oven, warm it, and it comes like a new bottle again.
Well, I want to welcome back my guests, Alan de Beaumele from Waste Disposals Limited and Alban Scott, Executive Manager, Solid Waste Management Company Limited. Gentlemen, your response to the scavengers, and perhaps I should go to you first, Alban. Is it safe for them to be doing what they do?
No, it's not safe for them to be doing what they do. Studies internationally have shown that there are quite a number of bacteria which they get into their systems because of the fact that they salvage food also on the landfills, which is contaminated to a large extent. The problem is that they become immune after a period of time in that environment. Those of us who are not immune, and they can take back to the communities certain types of diseases, bacterial diseases and skin diseases, etc., which we may not be able to cope with. Sometimes it is likely maybe even to take back more than that, and studies have shown in the past. I think a former doctor in Port of Spain who did some studies way back actually attributed one of our polio outbreaks to the epicenter to supposed to be in the Beetham area years and years and years ago. We have to look at that seriously. Studies in Pakistan have shown that a lot of workers who work on landfills have a lot of stool. When they do studies on their stool, they get many parasites in their stool. So there are parasites, etc., which get into their systems, which we are not aware of. And these things they bring back into our communities. unheralded. There's no examination, there's no determination of what is happening to them, and these are some things that we have to be careful about. We may be lucky so far, but one day our luck will run out if we continue to allow this to happen.
Alan, you've been in this business for years. How much of our waste do we actually recycle in Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, I think, like you mentioned just now, it is a small percentage, and it's mostly not organized. It's sort of like just small little groups of people doing it, and they might make a little daily living out of it. But what is needed is government to basically step up and say, we are going to divert, say, 50% of the waste from the landfill sites within a certain time, whether it be maybe 8 years or 10 years, and put projects in place to meet those targets.
Do you think that's feasible, Mr. Scott?
I think it is feasible, but I would prefer that we not rely only on the government. I think that private industry in Trinidad and Tobago needs to step up to the plate. Caribou, I know, has been doing this from time immemorial, and their program has been relatively successful. One of the problems they face really is at times, they might not be buying or other things like that has happened in the past, and I think they need to be more consistent with that in terms of just taking it regardless of how much it is that's available. In terms of plastics is a new thing that came to our environment several years ago, and we have to, with everything else, waste is the last thing to catch up with the new trend. The whole industry of technology has hit the waste stream the hardest. We are at the end of consumerism. And at the end of consumerism, we now have to deal with what the consumer no longer wants to see. Once they put it out their gate, they no longer want to see. Once they put it in a bag, they no longer want to see. And that is the aspect of the disposal that we find most difficult. Because in terms of the capability of us to deal with it, we may need to look at better funding, one. We may need to look at some process whereby when you buy a plastic soft drink, a plastic bottle, you will pay 5 cents or something for the disposal of that. The same thing for tires, for the disposal of it. And this is what modern or what is called developed countries supposedly do. And this is where we need, this direction in which we need to go. When you buy something that is likely to cause an environmental impact, you must pay the price at the end of the day to dispose of it. Computers have come into this country. Cell phones. People want to have 5, 6, 7 cell phones. When they die, what do? They probably throw them in the garbage. And the same thing with batteries. Dry cell batteries are the same problem. We need to look at that gap between technology, what we want, what we need, and how do we deal with it at the end of the day. Those are serious problems.
And this is a perfect time for us to take a short break. As you watch, I want to remind you to send in your comments and questions to cleaningupthemess@guardian.co.tt. This is an environmental special on CNC3. We'll be right back.